Hi, this is a history of the land where our campus is located in Purchase, New York. It has been home to different generations of occupants, all who left their mark. It is important for us to start with the land acknowledgement that Manhattanville University adopted in 2024. Land acknowledgement is a traditional custom in many Native communities that dates back centuries. To put simply, a land acknowledgement is a way of recognizing that a history of a place is complex and that our presence on this land is a form of participation in an ongoing history. It's difficult for us to know exactly which indigenous groups lived on this land. The identity is uncertain due to the passage of time, language, and perhaps intention. The European colonists were not necessarily inclined to document these things. What we can say is that the original inhabitants of this area would have been the Siwanoy, Wecquaesquek, and/or Wapinger people. A 1685 map from a Dutch mapmaker places the Siwanoy tribe roughly in this area. However, some historians doubt that this was an actual tribe. We can be sure that they would have been members of the larger Lenape people, and they would have spoken a Munsee dialect. It is important to note that indigenous people encountering colonists in the 1600s did not have a concept of land ownership, but rather stewardship. When the indigenous tribes were signing treaties with the colonists, they believed they were just granting permission to use rather than own the land. So in 1695, when John Harrison purchased this area for 40 English pounds, the local leaders would have thought they were just giving rights of use. Over time, this area became known as Harrison's Purchase, and eventually, as this 1867 map from the Westchester Historical Society shows, the town of Harrison, with the former indigenous footpath becoming Purchase Street. If we zoom in on that 1867 map, we can see the name of B. Holliday. Ben Holliday and his family bought 1,000 acres, including our property, in 1860. Ben was born in Kentucky and made his fortune working on overland mail delivery between Missouri and the West Coast at the height of the gold rush. Before transcontinental railroads were complete, people and mail were transported via stagecoach to the territories. According to his biography, The Saga of Ben Holliday, Ben was a risk taker. Contemporaries described him as coarse, boastful, and cunning. His biography also notes that he won shares of a silver mine in a poker game. The mine was called Ophir Silver Mine. A certificate from the mine can be seen on the upper right. With that money, in 1860, he bought this property and called it Ophir Hall, after the mine. This name lives on today with the Ophir Room and Ophir Annex in the castle, and Ophir Field, our sports facility. The Center for Design Thinking and the Gatehouse were both built by the Holliday family. The Center for Design Thinking was a carriage house originally. According to local legend, Ben shipped in western animals, including bison, and staged hunts on the grounds. At the very northern end of our current campus, by Purchase Street and Anderson Hill Road, the Hollidays built a family chapel, which we now call the Lady Chapel. This chapel was built for Ben's wife, Notley Ann Calvert. At one time, 7 members of the Holliday family, including Ben's wife and 6 of his children, were interred in a crypt beneath the Lady Chapel. However, in 1919, the next owners, the Reed family, relocated the Hollidays to this plot in St. Mary's Cemetery in Portchester. In 1873, Notley Ann died, and Holliday lost most of his fortune due to a stock market crash and extravagant spending. He sold Ophir Hall, moved to Oregon, remarried, and had one more child before dying in 1887. Today, his name is attached to a bourbon distillery in Missouri. By the time Manhattanville came to purchase in 1952, the chapel had been abandoned for decades. A 1972 Manhattanville student newspaper article called for some sort of effort to save the structure. Out of fears for its preservation, the chapel bell was moved to the front circle of Reed Castle, where it remains today. It was not until the early 2000s that a fundraising campaign made the next chapter possible. Architect Maya Lin was brought on to design a new vision for the chapel as part of an environmental center. Maya Lin came to prominence when she was still a college student. At 21, she won the National Design Competition for the Vietnam War Memorial. Today, one of the most beloved monuments in Washington, D.C., at the time it caused controversy for its minimalist design and her Asian ethnicity. Today, the O'Neill Environmental Center is home to the Environmental Classroom, the Community Garden, and the Lady Chapel, a quiet, contemplative place to visit on campus. The story of our campus continues in Chapter 2.